Hello, welcome. Today I am going to show you all of the books I finished reading in August. I have not done this in a while, and so I thought it'd be fun to give you a more holistic snapshot of what I've been reading and what I've been loving recently. I thought this month would also be a good month to do it because I have finished a lot of books this month. Last month, July, I think I only finished 3. And so this month, they all seem to be ending. I still read a lot last month, but I was just in the middle of everything. And I've read a lot of good things that I want to show you and tell you about. So here we are. Thank you for being here. Please like, please subscribe. And there are links in the description to these books, places you can buy these books, and also a link if you would like to buy me a coffee as a way to support this channel. It is so nice to have you here. Let us begin. Actually, I'm going to begin first with the book I don't have. I think I packed it somewhere and I can't find it. The Jungle Book by Kipling. I read it this month for the first time. I didn't know about it. It was rather different than what I was expecting, which what I was expecting was the Disney movie. Of course, it was different than the Disney movie. It's a bunch of short stories, some of them about Mowgli and Bagheera, etc., but also about other animals in the jungle and animals that are not in the jungle. There's a whole section about seals. Anyway, the stories were good. I don't know if it was my favorite thing to read, but I enjoyed it. And if ever I am reading a book to a child, it's one I would possibly pick. So, Jungle Book. Great. Next, we're going to do Voltaire in Love by Nancy Mitford. This is a history about Voltaire. I knew nothing about Voltaire. Now I know a little. It's kind of a portrait of his life while he was with his lover, Emily. I know a lot about English aristocracy and the rules they followed and the manners and the customs, etc. I know almost nothing about the French courts, and they are very different. And so it was wild to see what was usual, what was normal, what was not allowed. It wasn't the most captivating history, the way it was told. I lost a little steam in the middle, but then picked it up back at the end. There are some fun photos. But overall, I'm glad I read it. It was pretty short, which I like. I like when history is like a story about something specific, and they don't try and incorporate every single thing that ever happened. So I appreciate that. And it is this adorable little volume, which is always a perk. The Age of Innocence by Edith Wharton. I really enjoyed this, and it's an American novel written around 1920-ish, kind of same time as Great Gatsby, Virginia Woolf, but very, very different from those books. Feels older. It's interesting to put those side by side and see how different they are, even though they were written at the same time. A little tragic feeling, a little melancholic, but a good story. Very short, quick, flew through it. The podcast is doing a series on it currently. It's a very good novel. Anyway. Beowulf. This was very good. I just kept reading good things this month. And so I'm just going to say it was good over and over again. But the story was fun. This is the first time I read the whole thing. I read bits in school, but never the whole thing. I thought it might be challenging, but really the story just pulls you in and you are carried along by the storyteller. There are bits that are very different than what we would consider like a normal story now. But I'm taking the course by House of Humane Letters on Beowulf, and I find that very helpful. She's explaining the structure, all the different, like the way the tribes worked in the Anglo-Saxon world and why people are doing certain things and what's significant about certain things. So that's very helpful. But even without that, the story is fun to read on its own. And this translation, Burton Rafeel, highly recommended by House of Humane Letters. And I haven't read other translations, so I can't compare. But the translation, just as it feels good to read, it feels very, like the text feels rich and powerful and kind of marches you along. Sometimes translations can get a little too caught up in like word for word accuracy, and you kind of lose the steam, or you lose the way it feels. And I'm not an expert in the translations at all, but it doesn't feel like that's happening. It still feels like you're carried along and you get the sense and the feel of the story. And I trust House of Humane Letters with my life, and they say it's good. So, nice translation. Glad I finally read it. Next, I want to touch on this little essay I read, very short, but it's called The Vulture, or Original Idler, by Samuel Johnson. I read a bunch of Samuel Johnson's letters last month, and I really enjoyed those. And so I went through the Literary Life's podcast, their back catalog, and they had this essay by Samuel Johnson that they did an episode on that I had not read or listened to yet. And so I printed it off. I really enjoyed it. It is kind of an essay, kind of fiction, very biting. It's from the perspective of a vulture, and he's talking about humans and things that humans do, and it's a critique of some of our behavior. And it was really enjoyable, and if you have 20 minutes, I recommend looking it up and enjoying it. Yeah, great little essay. Okay. I am very excited about this next one. This is my first novel I've read by Wendell Berry. It's called Jayber Crow. And this is for sure one of my best books I've read recently. Oh, it's so beautiful. It's a memoir, a fictional memoir of this man who is a barber in a small town in the rural southern United States, which is not normally a milieu that I gravitate towards, but the way he speaks is so dreamy. It feels like his voice is a river, and you're floating on this river on a hazy August summer afternoon, and he's just carrying you along, and you're seeing beautiful vista after beautiful vista, and then you get refreshed with a cool splash from the water, but you also can feel the warm sun on your skin. And he does that. That's Jayber Crow. He is a powerful man. He has a powerful voice. It's also funny at times. I could not put this book down until I finished it. I read it very quickly. And I am very excited to read it again. Oh, look, there's the river that we floated down on our, on his voice. There it is. This is an example of something that I've been working on for a long time that I finally finished this month. Most of this I read not in August, but I did finish it. And I finished it this morning actually. And it's called All My Road Before Me, The Diary of C.S. Lewis from 1922 to 1927. And it's a diary in the sense, this day I did this, this day I did this, this day I did this. And also within his entries, sometimes it's just what he did. Sometimes there's a little portrait of a person or a little anecdote or a little something. But it kind of lends itself well to reading in little chunks like that, because you can pop in and pop out, and you don't need to remember everything that came before necessarily to understand what is going on. I really enjoy reading things like this. You get an interesting portrait of a life from another time. I'm also deeply obsessed with C.S. Lewis, so anything about the man I am all about. His day-to-day life, at least from 1922 to 1927, was, I think, a lot more domestic than your average person might think. He hadn't written any book yet. He'd only been really writing poetry and some essays and things at this point. And so he's not famous. He like barely has a job. He doesn't get a job till like the very end. And it's just a very portrait of a normal life in that time period. And I found that very interesting. Another thing that really blew me away in this book is how fast he reads. At the end, he was reading Guy Mannering by Sir Walter Scott, and I read that this year. It took me a while. There's a lot of novel in there. He read it in one day. Entry said, started this in the morning. Later on, he wrote, finished it. I said, that's crazy. He reads so fast and somehow remembers everything and can think about things well while reading them that quickly. Blew me away. Not one of his more popular works, but we're reading his entire catalog slowly but surely. So I have this, and also now I can return to the library. I've had it out for a very long time, and surprisingly no one else has asked for it. What the heck? Okay, those are all the ones I have at the moment. It's actually not the end of the month quite yet, but I am packing, as you may or may not know. And so I wanted to pack all these books up, and so I wanted to show them to you now. I am sure I'm going to pop back in a few seconds and show you one or two more. There we are. Hello, I'm back. It is the end of August now. August is done, and I have a few more to show you. Here they are. Okay, Dubliners by James Joyce is the first one. I had never read the entirety of the collection, and especially not like in the order that it is in the collection. I deeply wanted to do that. Every time I've read one of these short stories, I've loved it. I love them all. I mean, I just really love Araby. I've loved Araby for a long time. And maybe I love it because it's the most familiar. But I enjoyed all of them. They are beautiful and sad, and he's so good with words. The way they feel is very connected, and they do give you this portrait of a city and a place at a certain time. And I really loved it. Also, I love this little dingy brown paperback. Mwah. Set it over here on top of the books I'm currently reading. Maybe I'll show you those at the end. A little extra treat. Okay. I also read another French novel. I think I read one last month and this month, 2 months in a row. I read L'Étranger by Camus. Now, I feel like I am quite the novice when it comes to French novels. And it's more, I just have to intake. I don't know, I enjoyed it partially. I feel like it's hard for me to fully get into a French book. I'm mostly just practicing my French at this point. But I did find at moments that I was enjoying the story and being pushed along through the pages because of the story. This one's also kind of sad and dark a little bit. But from my limited experience with French writing, I feel like it was good. But again, this is more I'm working on it. I gotta practice some more. Next, this short story was a pure delight. It is The Celestial Omnibus by E.M. Forster. Now, E.M. Forster is so interesting because his different works are so different. I don't know if you have ever read Howard's End or A Room with a View. They are, you wouldn't even think they're by the same author as something like any of his science fiction, his Celestial Omnibus or A Machine Stops. You kind of almost forget they're by the same person. But this was one of those stories that speaks to my soul. I think I really love proper science fiction. It's a little boy who goes on a celestial omnibus and is... I almost don't like giving reviews of short stories because everything I tell you is a gem of the story. You know, if I give you an overview, it's like the whole thing. But I guess this story feels like it gets past the surface of things and dives right into things that are bigger and deeper and eternal. But it is just one of those stories that feels like it has magic, that shows you something true about the world, that feels really special. I ate this up. I highlighted everything. It was very, very, one of my favorite kinds of stories. Such an omnibus. Very good. I read a lot of short stories this month, unlike me. And the last one I have to show you is a collection of G.K. Chesterton's poems in this really fun folio edition. I really enjoyed these. I thought some of them were really good. Some of them were mediocre. Some of them were very beautiful. A lot of them were very funny. There's a nice wide range of poems in here. And they seem, I love when poetry is, it looks simple on the, kind of on the surface. You can read it and it makes sense, but, and it's like kind of easy for you to follow, but it penetrates into you. And to get a poem to do that, it takes a lot of work so that like you're not stumbling through lines. It's just like the meter and everything flows so easily because the poet did a lot of hard work. But when you read it, it seems like it just flows beautifully. And a lot of the poems felt like that. They felt easy and simple and accessible to me, but I know it's because he did a lot of work crafting them. At least that was my impression. There's a lot of different categories of poems in here. They're organized by topic. This one's on the curse of riches, on the Christ child, on the modern world, parodies, politics. Some of the poems on politics, when he was like roasting specific political figures at his of his time. And so some of those I didn't quite fully appreciate. But a lot of his poems have bigger themes that, you know, span across all time and to all people. And so those were very enjoyable for me to read. Wow, I just really love thumbing through a book I've read. But I've been trying to read more poetry. And, well, I have been reading more poetry. And I've really, really, really been enjoying that process. Well, that was it. That was August and a lot of July and June and probably some May. But it is a very satisfying month when they all wrap up at the same time. And you can kind of start with a fresh slate. Since we're here, let me show you what I'm currently reading. A few videos ago, I made a selection, or curated a little selection of books that I was going to read over the next few weeks so I could pack my library. I'll leave that video below if you want to see it. And I've been reading through that pile, and I've really been enjoying having this finite pile. It's right over there. That's why I'm looking at it. It really has been motivating me to read more because it's not this huge, endless amount of books that I can eventually get through. It feels like a very reasonable pile. And so I'm like, I can finish it. I can do it. I can do it. And so it has been pushing me to read a lot more, having this selection. I wasn't sure if it was going to feel limiting or if I was going to be bored or uninspired because I ended up not wanting to read the books that I'd picked. But that is not at all what I'm finding. Anyway, the ones I'm working on right now are Don Quixote for my book club. And I thought this was going to be a really slow go, just read a little bit every day and have to get through it. But I'm finding I don't want to put it down. And I find it really funny. He is killing me. Where's this one line that he was talking to? Oh my gosh, where is it? Oh yeah, here it is. What reason has one to thank a woman for being good, said he, if no one has tempted her to be bad? Like, I don't know. It's just so silly. Anyway, I've really been enjoying Don Quixote. I'm way ahead of schedule for this one. Okay, and then I also started An Introduction to Christian Mysticism by Jason and Baxter, which has also been really incredible. What is Christian mysticism according to like a handful of different people who have been mystics, I guess. So they're all very similar, but they have like slight differences on like how you would attain this level of mysticism. And so it's very helpful and kind of an easy way to be introduced to the idea. Anyway, enjoying that a lot. And then I've also been slowly pecking my way through Mythos by Stephen Frye. This man, like, I think this just was just a little passion project for him. Not little, a big. Like, he doesn't need this work, I don't think. There's so much info. I knew there was a lot. Like, I knew Greek mythology had a lot going on, and I knew that I didn't know most of it. You're familiar with like a handful of names just from being alive in our current world, but there's so much that I didn't know. And even after reading it, so much I'm not going to remember. But I'm going to read this, and then it will be kind of a reference tool for me when I need to look stuff up. Anyway, enjoying that. And that's it. I'm only in the middle of 3 books right now, which is very sensible. Okay, well, that was my August. Thank you so much for watching all this. Again, as always, let me know what you are reading. Let me know if you've read these books, which ones you loved. Tell me what you're reading. And I hope you have a wonderful day. I will talk to you soon. And I need to go open all my windows because I closed them for the sake of the audio, but I almost started a fire in my apartment today, so it's very smoky in here. So I'm gonna go open all the windows and turn the fans back on. Okay, bye.